How do we come to know objective truth? This is a question Metropolitan Anthony Bloom asks in his book God and Man. The Western mind has in many ways abandoned the concept of objective truth. Modernism has elevated science and rationalism above all other means of knowledge, and postmodernism denies the existence of objective truth and objective reality altogether. Intellectually, the West has become democratized, meaning that truth is not existent in and of itself, and therefore is something that needs to be sought out and discovered. Truth in the West is dictated by consensus, and as in political democracy, all this means is that a small elite corral the masses into believing and thinking in ways that are beneficial to them and their agendas. In intellectual spheres, we call these elites experts. Yet truth is objective, as it is a product of God and is God. Real truth cares nothing for the consensus of the masses or the will of the experts, as it is self-existent. Truth itself is ethereal, invisible, yet without it there would be no order in the universe. I would reckon that on some level most scientists would agree with this statement, as the scientific method necessitates a certain humility and a willingness to be corrected. However, although in the past many scientists came to faith as a result of their studies, the humility of the past has been superseded by the pride of humanistic certainty. To believe in truth requires that one be subservient to it, to become its slave. We as humans are bound by inalienable laws such as biological sex, race, and genetics. We are also bound by the laws of physics, and we are all going to die. Modern intellectualism wants to subvert all of these laws in one way or another, not in the affirmation of truth, but in its denial. Modern science and rationalism deny God and supernatural faith. Sure, we are permitted to believe in whatever we want, but this belief is utterly confined to the private sphere, and if there is ever a conflict between the private and public sphere, the public must always prevail. Effectively, faith is utterly denied in our societies, in no way unlike that of the former communist regimes. The only difference is how blunt those communist regimes were in their actions against faith. That being said, secularism and the separation of church and state result in the same atheism and denial of truth with the population, be it forced or voluntary, communist or capitalist, just different paths to the same destination. Truth is no longer adequate in the modern mind. Our models, be they scientific, philosophical, or theological, need to change in order to reflect the eternality of truth. This results in discontentment and uncertainty, as in our active pursuit of the truth we come to see how truly far away from it we are. Yet, just as in theosis, this process can never be, and is never meant to be, fully fulfilled on this earth. Our models of truth will never be the truth itself, just as the archetype will never become the type, even as the type points to the archetype. Alas, no longer able or willing to live in this tension, truth has been abandoned, and we have been left under the direction of a managerial class of experts. These experts have no unique relationship with the truth, but instead, they take advantage of the intellectual void left by postmodernism to propagate their agendas. If you doubt this, then consider the hypocrisy of those who rule over us. We are told to love the elite, to be subservient to them because of their expertise, and because of their assumed benevolence towards us. Yet so many, if not all of these great men, are rank hypocrites. How many times do we see climate change activists engaging in behaviors that they would condemn of us? Or anti-racist activists dressing in blackface or using racial slurs? These men and women are supposed to be our intellectual and moral betters, yet I, someone whom they would condemn, live more morally by their standards than they do. Now, this is not to say that I am better than them, only that their claim to leadership is based upon hypocrisy, a hypocrisy that, if I held their position, would attempt to correct. Faith is the certainty of that which is unseen. We should not be threatened by science or rationalism, as the truth of faith transcends all temporal reality. Tensions and disharmony between the seen and unseen should be expected and welcomed, as doubt and perplexity are part of the process of growing beyond that which we knew and that which we are coming to know. Atheism and the denial of faith is not the result of Christianity being shown to be defective or false. Instead, atheism demonstrates a failure of the individual to navigate the complexities of the interrelationship between these two realities, settling instead to focus on the one physical reality and thus remaining in a known, comfortable intellectual framework. In a way, atheism is the other side of Gnosticism, whereas Gnostics instead deny the material world and embrace only the spiritual. I am sympathetic to the atheist, as what we, as humans, are called to do is demanding, and ultimately impossible in this life. This uniting of worlds was done through the person of Christ, and although we are called to be types of Christ, we will never be the prototype. Truth can only be understood and known through Christ, and through the examples of those who lead us to him. Any pursuit of truth that does not consider things unseen is deficient. We all have a spiritual organ, and we are all rational beings. Depending on your point of view, our rationality is either the product of thousands of years of development, pruning and improvement, or is the product of a gift bestowed upon us by our Creator. Maybe it is a product of both, a gift that has been perfected as a result of centuries of use and experiences. As such, barring some fundamental disability, all of humanity is able to engage in reason on some level or another. This does not imply that all of humanity is equally intelligent, only that the faculty of intellect is universal. Our rationality must be a reliable determinant of truth, as that is the only way we can intellectually know the truth. Therefore, the views of all people who ever lived need to be considered when we pursue the truth. If we reject them, then we admit to a deficiency in rationality itself. This does not mean that we accept all other views, only that we consider them and have answers for why we reject or accept them. Furthermore, our understanding is just as valid as anyone else's, even that of the experts. The intelligence or expertise of an expert is meaningless when pursuing the truth, as those things need not necessarily have any bearing on the truth. We can trust ourselves and our ability to reason, and as such, we must also maintain that our beliefs can and should be applied universally. If we reject the universality of our beliefs, that implies a lack of confidence and certainty in our reasoning. Therefore, why would we expect anyone ever to come to accept our views? If we are not confident in what we believe, we can never expect others to embrace our views. Of course, the universality of our beliefs is proven by discourse and persuasion, never coercion, as coercion demonstrates how our beliefs, and therefore the truth, requires something other than itself to be instituted and sustained. In the world today, we seek out experts as a replacement for the pursuit of truth. We have truly established a cult of experts, where those above us dictate how we are to live, and the views we are meant to hold. Yet, I and many others reject these would-be leaders, because we place more confidence in our own faculties given to us by God, than in the dictates of the elites. This is right and proper. If the elite cannot convince us to follow them, then we are not obliged to do so. They are appointed by themselves, not by God, and if they cannot persuade us, that demonstrates an innate failing in what they are espousing. This is not meant to be a work of anti-intellectualism, but rather it is to show that those who blindly submit to and follow the dictates of experts act as anti-intellectual cultists who forfeit their own rationale and cognitive abilities in favor of confirmation and collectivism. Effectively, in submitting to experts, people forfeit their own rationality and bestow it upon the elite. This is similar to how democracy forces the voter to surrender their innate political power and self-determination so that it can be bestowed upon the electoral system and upon the elected leader. Pursuing the truth calls us to navigate seeming contradictions and exceptions. Yet, these exceptions and contradictions do not render the truth itself contradictory or hypocritical. Rather, the exceptions prove the rule, affirming the truth in their external relationship to it. Truth is affirmed by its own existence, drawing us into itself. Yet, truth can also be known in negation, as in a state of negation, the absence of truth can be felt. For some, this absence can be felt even more deeply than the presence. Many things point to the truth, without being the truth itself. We are called to navigate this boundary between realities, and we have been provided all that we need to do so.